Hi guys and girls. My name is Pam Lefkowitz. I own Core Computing Technologies. I'm out of the Chicago area. I'm an independent consultant, so I am the employer type, not the employee type. So I'm going to have a bit of a different perspective than you guys might have, who are employees might have, and that's okay, and encouraged. You can find me at Always DNS. Oh, am I going to get the speaker thing now? And we're going to talk about staying young and being viable in IT. I've been doing IT work for over 30 plus years. I've owned this company and it's been viable for nearly 20. I took 10 years out to have babies. So it's been a long career, and that was kind of interesting because when you take 10 years off, suddenly you go back to the work world where you might have been doing technology, and at the time you were testing modems and you were beta testing portable computers. So back in the days when there was no mouse and you were lugging home what they considered portable at 60 pounds, right? And then you don't do this for 10 plus years, and suddenly there is nothing for you to go back to. My option was to go independent at that point, which is what I did. And now I've got this company that's makes me happy most of the time. Gotta do my submit feedback thing. I would really like to have my presenter notes up here. So I was listening to NPR a couple weeks ago, and it was just before I started putting this presentation together. And it was the show on NPR that's called On the Media. And it was a replay of something they had done 5 years earlier on Tetris's 25th birthday. And it was Bob Garfield, and he said, "Let me ask you one thing, Tetris, how good are you at the game?" The interview was wonderful. If you haven't heard it, go to NPR's site and listen to it. And Alexei, who wrote Tetris, admits right here that at 54, 5 years ago, 54, he wasn't very good at the game that he invented. That young people were really better at this game. Why? Not because he was a fool, not because he was incompetent, but because their brains work differently. Because their hand-eye coordination is just faster. There are physiological things that we aren't going to get around. We can help them along, but we can't avoid it. We are just not as fast as we used to be. And I think a lot of us feel that when we get up in the morning, right? It's just not the same. We don't pop out of bed the way we used to. But I found, and he was okay with it. I found it fascinating that he admitted it in such a cavalier way. It didn't bother him. It was just very matter of fact. So I don't remember who passed this on to me. Robert, it might have been you. It might have been Brian. Somebody passed this "Stop Young-splaining" to me. It's also a very good article that you should read. The URL is here. And this is what they said. That one young founder presented a use case for her app by introducing a slide of a fictitious user. This is so-and-so. She's 43 and needs a lot of assistance. You know, how many times do we have the mom joke? Right? I have a young colleague who I was working with, and she was all, she thought it was really cool that her mom texted her, and her mom instant messaged her, could FaceTime, was using her phone. And I said, well, how old is your mom? She said, 50. And I thought, well, honey, she's younger than me. Why is it surprising? Why is it surprising that at 50 we're technically adept? Now, I will admit that my reference point to that is my mother, who's 83. And I wonder, am I going to be 83 and technically inept? I don't know. I hope not. That's not where I want to be. I did, in all the research I was doing, I haven't actually found corollaries between at what point do we get to a stage, an age and a stage, where technology gets ahead of us. I sometimes feel that way now, but not entirely. Every time I know something that a speaker is talking about, I feel like I'm okay. And as long as I can keep learning and retaining it, I'm okay. But I'm also not an employee. Age bias is a reality. There's no question about it. We know that there's gender bias. We like to think there isn't. This is not going to be a very politically correct session, and I may never get asked back to PSU because of it. And I'm sorry to all of my friends at PSU. We know that gender bias exists. We like to think it doesn't, but we see it all the time. We see it at conferences. Not this one. This is actually an amazing conference where I don't feel any of that. But there are other conferences. There are developer conferences. Not WWDC. I can't speak to it. Never been. But we know that there are developer conferences where it's a big issue, right? Nobody ever talks about the age issue. And I was floored when I started doing reading on this and found that it's not 50 and 60-year-olds that have become old in tech. It's 40. By 40, you're being pushed out of your companies in one way or another, or you're not getting the next job. At 30, they're starting to go, not so much. What can we do with you? Let's push you to management because your tech skills are not quite there anymore, there's phrasing that HR people and boss people use to tell us we're too old. And they're hidden phrasings. So when we look at this, this was out of the art. I tried to cite all these articles so you knew where to find them if you want to go read the full texts. This is a couple of years old, but I think it's still relevant. I think the second one down, the level of compensation, is a big issue. So I remember when my father was working, and the boss he was working for was a little bit older than him, 10 years older than him, and they had celebrations. When you were at the company for 10 years, you got some kind of award. When you were there for 15 years, you got some. My dad was with this company for 35 years. 35 years. Anybody been at their company 35 years? 30 years? 20? All right. 20 years. And only 3 people in this room. 20 years. There's no such thing as loyalty. Why? Not because we don't want to be loyal. We want to be loyal. There's no incentive for us to be loyal anymore. You work for the company, you're not getting the raises you might have gotten. Economy has a lot to do with this. I get that. But on the whole, our raises, the longer you stay with a company, the less likely you are to make a lot of money. This is crazy. This is absolutely crazy. But companies are able to hire a new grad with a lot more educational experience than we have. So they've not only got a bachelor's in computer science, let's say, they've got the master's, or they've got a doctorate. They've got all this by 27. We didn't do all that because it wasn't the same kind of requirement 25 years ago. So they're hiring somebody fresh out of school at 60% of our salaries, something like that. And it's hard. It makes it hard for us to stay. It makes it hard for them to keep us. So they find ways to move us around. Oh, I also like, sorry, I like the third one. Our behaviors and our attitudes can become rigid and narrow-minded with age. I kind of resent that one. Is that narrow-minded of me? Might be. Might be. I think experience is mistaken for narrow-mindedness. You put your hand in the fire, your hand gets burned. Now, is it narrow-minded of me to think that I shouldn't put my hand in that stupid fire? Maybe. But it's not about what the reality is, it's about the perception. The last one, the energy level, which is presumed to be less than that of a 25-year-old. I love this one. Last year at this time, I was that less energetic, tired person. And I changed that. And I changed my lifestyle because I'm going through a midlife crisis. It's okay, I'm going to buy a red sports card. I've been looking. But I changed me because I felt like I wasn't that energetic person that I was when I was younger. And so I started working out and I started eating better, and I find that now I have more energy. I can get through classes at my gym that the 22-year-olds can't get through. And you know what? That feels really good. It's good for me on many levels, and it's good for younger people to see that we are not crotchety old people. I was watching a movie. I was watching the movie Marty. I love old movies. Okay? Black and white movies, love them. So I'm watching the movie Marty, and in it they have, do you guys know this movie? Is this foreign concept? Okay. Ernest Borgnine, marvelous movie. And in it was his mother and his aunt. And they were old country ladies, like from the old country. And they had their hair in buns, and they were really heavy and dressed in dresses down to here, and old stockings that fell down, and comfortable shoes. And they're walking like this and talking about their aching bones. And they sat down to have a conversation, and she says, well, you know, I'm 50. And I thought, oh my God, what do we look and act this old? Could this be us? God, I hope not. So we are competing on more than just smart levels. We're competing on physical. We're competing on energy, physiological. There's so much more to it than just how smart am I. So 50 is the new 30. That's what they're saying, right? You know, I had a birthday yesterday. I'm 54. I'm not afraid to admit it. I'm not afraid to admit it because I have all the energy of a 30-year-old. 50 is the new 30. Employers think of a 50-year-old person still the way they think of how they were in 1970, which was when our parents were 50. Our parents were super old to us, right? So we're not that 50-year-old. We're not that 1970s 50-year-old anymore. It really is middle age. People are living to 100. It's not uncommon anymore. How many people when you were 20, 25 lived to 100? Wasn't happening. 75, 80, you were going, oh, they had a good long life. Now 90 is like nothing. 100? Common. We are middle-aged at 50 anymore. The things I learned is we guys. Well, I'm partway there already, so la-di-da. We need to get in shape. I hate to say that hi, come on in. I hate to say we need to get in shape, but we need to get in shape. We need to be viable. We need to be we need to be able to lift that 60-pound computer. We need to be able to hoist up that printer that weighs way too much for one person to handle. We have to not fall asleep at our desk at 2 o'clock in the afternoon. By the way, that is a physiological liver issue. There is a liver dip at somewhere between 2 and 3 in the afternoon. So when you start getting tired then, that's actually normal. Get up, move around, drink more water. We have to keep our energy up. We have to be sharp. We have to not dress like old This is terrible of me. I know. This is why I said this is going to be very politically incorrect. We should be able to wear whatever we want to wear and not be judged by it. We should be able to dress how we want to dress. We should be able to cut our hair the way we want to cut our hair. We should be able to go gray if we want to go gray, wear that gray proud. But we can't. Why can't we? Because when we do, we're looked at as old. We don't want to look old. We can't be old because our employers go, they're old, they're not relevant anymore. We need to stay young. It's really interesting. So I'm reading all these sites about how to get a job, how to get a job when you are older, and there are job search companies for people 50 and older, for people 40 and older, for people 30 and older, believe it or not, and all of these experts, right? Because they're all experts. That's how they get your money. They're all experts. They're having this great debate. Do you Botox? Don't you Botox? Botox. We have to shoot chemicals in our faces so that we can stay employed. What is wrong with this? What is wrong? Women more than men because George Clooney. I actually can't think of a female equivalent to George Clooney. Well, Meryl Streep, I actually thought about that Meryl Streep, and she has done really well. She looks great. Helen Mirren? Yeah. Helen Mirren is bringing back old. She's awesome. She's phenomenal. So we do have some, but you see what I'm saying. It's wrong that we have to do some of the stuff that we have to do, but if you're in a position where you need to be looking for another job, you're hunting, I hate to say it, but it's how we're perceived. It's how we're perceived. It sucks. The benefits of being older. So when you're writing your resume, or when you're going for that next promotion, or when you're having your yearly meeting with your boss, they're going to be thinking, how can I get someone younger, cheaper, smarter, faster, energetic, or, you need to sell yourself. You need to sell the maturity aspect. You need to find ways to make this sale. As an independent consultant, I can commoditize myself. I can say, you can buy me for $150 an hour. That sounds really wrong. But when you're an independent consultant, that is what you are. So you can buy me for $150 or $200 an hour. And I can sell that as a commodity. Or I can sell you a package. And that package is going to bring with it all these benefits. And that package is going to cost you something every year. So I'm making a large sale. I am selling my experience. Now, I will say that, and Tom, you can probably back me up on this one, that as we get older, as a consultant, it is easier to get myself into a company to have them as a client than it is for somebody who's working inside the company to get a promotion. And why do I say this? Because as a consultant, I'm looked at as an expert. I have years of experience that I am bringing all those years of experience to the company at no extra cost to them except what my fee. As an employee, their costs go up. Your insurance goes up, your health insurance, your life insurance, all those other things that go with being an employee, all those employer costs go up. So they can get you cheaper, frankly, by hiring me, which is weird. But it is the reason I'll never be employable by anybody else. I will always have to make my business run because this is the maturity is respected as an outside consultant. It's wrong, but it's what I've seen. So some of the advantages of being older, you have a larger view of the world. So you need to find the way to spin that larger view of the world to your employers, right? You know human interaction better. You can speak as a person. You have the ability to talk to people who are older. You typically have more patience. So you've had a lot more years. Maybe you've had kids. You've had experience dealing with children. Or users. You've got these experiences. You have a much larger circle of influence. So you know people in all sorts of areas. You know more people in the phone industry, than the telecom industry. So you bring those connections. Maybe you've been to more conferences in your lifetime. You have loyalty people you have people at Staples who love you, who'll do anything for you. You're bringing those people with you. Your circle of influence is important. You understand how to network. You understand how important a handshake is. You even understand how important a business card is because they existed in our lifetimes, but apparently not anymore. You get these personal relationships and how to work with them. And those are important. Those are the things that you bring with. That's the sell for everybody. That's our sell. This was a great comment. Show them the green, they'll forget the gray. Very cool statement if you think about it. Show them why you're worth the dollars you're worth. Show them why you bring value. What is your value? Monetize it. When I go to a client and I want them to buy 35 new Macs, I don't say to them, you need to buy 35 new Macs because they are cool. I say, you need to buy 35 new Macs because each one of these Macs that replaces one of your 5-year-old Macs is at least 3 times faster, and here's the dollars you're going to save, enough to fire one person. Something's got to get cut somewhere. It's not going to be me. So, show them your value. What do you bring to the table? What skill do you have that you can expand and make them more money? What can you do faster, smarter, better that will mean that they don't need to hire somebody younger? Sorry, youngerns. But it's us or them. Survival of the fittest. There's an allegory, there's a correlation that somebody made about plumbing parts being data. This whole article is also one of those very interesting articles. Hard to pick what I wanted to pull out of it. All technologies are similar and are like piles of parts. You have to give them, you are a competitor. You're working for somebody, you're competing. You may not be competing for business, but you're competing for your job. Make no mistake, you are competing for your job. You need to help that boss put the pieces together and let him understand why he needs you to put those pieces together. This is the application of plumbing, so it's more than just the parts. Do you want to be a parts guy? Do you want to be the information guy? Ooh, look, I have a typo in there. Sorry. So how does what you have help them make money? Third step, leverage that application, your knowledge. You have the information, use your knowledge. How does the application of a particular technology meet a financial need? How is managing Macs meeting a financial need for them? Because you have 5 nines uptime? And you have 5 nines uptime because you did it, because you had the experience and the knowledge to put it together? That's a sellable instrument. That's green for them. They have no downtime, they're making money. Do you want to move into a management position? Do you want to really become a corporate asset? This is, so when you're looking at options of what you want to do when you grow up, you look, I know IT people who always want to stay IT people. They love it. They live for it. All they want to do is terminal commands all day long. That's it. They don't want to do anything else. They just want to be an IT guy. So when they can get a younger, faster, smarter, better IT guy for half the money, what's going to happen to us, right? Maybe what we need to do is go to management. Unfortunately, people who really like doing IT stuff don't necessarily want to be a manager. I know people who are not leaders, and they don't want to be leaders. Sadly, those people are going to not have jobs. They're good at what they do, they know how to code, but unless they turn to management, they're going to be ousted in some fashion for somebody who can do it for less money. So what do we need to do? We need to stay relevant. Come into this conference. Staying relevant. Learning new skills. Staying relevant. Never, never, never get stuck doing the same thing over and over and over again. Of course, if you did, you'd just script it. I'm going to script coming into work today. Don't mind me. I'm just a shell script. Sounds silly, and it's old school, but PMA, positive mental attitude. I love my job, I love my job, I love my job. Live it. If you say it, you will become it. All that good touchy-feely crap. And you need to share your knowledge. So this is really interesting. Somebody came up to me this week and said, I really wanted to mentor somebody. Were we having that discussion? That you really wanted to mentor somebody and they just are not interested in it. Which is amazing to me because I still look for a person to mentor me. And the thing is, that mentor doesn't have to be older than me. Just has to be somebody who has skills that I don't have, who has something or is someone that I would like to be. So find, and you'll find somebody to mentor. It will happen. You have a lot to, I say this because I know him real well. Mentor someone. Doesn't have to be somebody at your company. Just mentor someone. Sharing that knowledge makes you smarter. Let's do that again. Sharing your knowledge makes you smarter. Why do you think the folks who do sessions do sessions? Because, and if we're smart, we do sessions on something we don't know about. Why? Because then we have to learn. So when you mentor somebody, you are forced to put yourself in their shoes and learn what they need to know. I got asked after last year's PSU to mentor a girl, one of the girls that was at the conference, and I was flattered. It felt really good. And she just got a new job. And we spent enough time together and that she was able to learn how to ask for what she needed. It's all about asking for what you need. And that's the value that we can bring to other people. So if we're mentoring folks who maybe we're gunning for our jobs, maybe we're befriending the enemy. Maybe we're bringing that person closer and they see our point of view and maybe they're not gunning so much after we've helped them. Maybe they're turning into another direction, going for somebody else's job, not ours. I don't know what the answer is there. All I know is that when you give, you get it back tenfold. So if you don't have somebody to mentor, if there isn't a mentoring program at your company, start a mentoring program. Make yourself visible, therefore making yourself irreplaceable. Move in helps you move into another direction. Jobtipsforgeeks.com. Cool name for a site. So what are we going to do after IT? Well, we can move into management. That may or may not be where we want to go. Seems logical for a lot of people, but I will tell you that IT people tend to not talk to other people like they're human beings. We talk to each other like we're engineers or computers. So, pseudo make me a sandwich, exactly. Exactly. So we do this. We just do this. It's who we are. It's just who we are. Learn to talk to other people. If management is somewhere you want to go, take the classes. Take a psychology class. Take a writing class so you write like a person. Embrace the humanities, the arts, not just the comp sci's, not math, something other than math, something other than science. We're not all going to be Neil deGrasse. Embrace the humanities. Learn those skills. Join Toastmasters. Anybody not heard of Toastmasters? It's a public speaking organization. Teaches you how to talk to people. Wonderful organization. Do great work. Present something on tech at a local chamber of commerce. What does that do for you when you do something like that? It shows people, first of all, you widen your circle of influence, right? Because now you've met 40, 50, 60, 100 more people. But it gets you up and it gets you talking to others, and it gets you to be a human and not that guy on the other end of the phone. Maybe you want to do architecture and design, and I don't mean building houses, which is actually the first thing I thought of when I saw that. Maybe you want to get away from the help desk or MacAdmin and actually architect a system. Do you guys know Paul Saw? Yeah. All right, so Paul's an amazing guy. I've known him for years. He's been an independent consultant forever, and brilliant. If you want to know anything about security, ps-enable.com. Brilliant man. He just moved to, I believe, the Bahamas. And he's actually setting up an entire school district. Ground up. This is architecture and design. Like cum laude. Very jealous of, plus it's the Bahamas, so there's that. So I'm super jealous of him because he's living the dream. The guy's living the dream, and he's not 20. He's not 30. Operations. Maybe you want to do operations. Look into what your company does in their operations department or their school. And school's got operations departments. We know how to make things better and faster. So operations is a good place for us. Why? Because we know how to make things that will reduce costs. Maybe you want to start your own business. I don't know. Maybe you want to do what I do. So instead of having one boss, I have 50 bosses. But, maybe you want to do what Tom and I do and be an independent consultant. It's something to think about. It's often a really good switch because then you're not dealing with the HR issues. You've got a load of other issues. But it's there. Or maybe you want to work for somebody who is an independent consultant. Possible. But you need to stay fresh, and I keep repeating that. You need to stay fresh. You gotta stay on top of this stuff. So these are my resources. Or these are some resources. As much as art makes me mad, they've got some really good resources. And you get it at 50. So if you're 48, it's coming. And I don't know how they do it, but they find you. I mean, it was a week before my 50th birthday, and I had an ARP application. I'm like, dude, what is this? Yeah, but then I went to Vegas and celebrated 50, so it was okay. I didn't really care. I brought my ARP card. They were like, what? Know what the younger folks are doing. We don't have to be young, but we certainly have to understand young. So my new understanding of, my new foray into how to understand young is to watch the show At Midnight. If y'all haven't seen this show, it's on the Comedy Channel. Every night at midnight. I know, go figure. Slick show. Very funny. But I watch it with my 20-year-old. And interesting, and it's a tech-based show. It's hysterical. At midnight. Yeah. And it's his Twitter handle. It's Chris Hardwick, Nerdist. So Chris has a really good handle on the internet, and he's super funny, and it's good. It sort of keeps your brain a little young in the social aspect of being young. So these are the sites a lot of the sites that I looked at. I love the best employers and jobs for workers over 50. The single best employer for workers over 50 is NIH. We chatted about that last night. And we have a shining example of that. So yeah, I mean, you're very fortunate. You're very, very fortunate that you've got that. I read many stories about people who were shoved out of their companies. There was an incident when Motorola was a client of mine. I was trying to get to be a client of mine because they have a huge Mac contingency there. And these are all Chicago-based companies. And, yeah. And they, at the time, was actually letting go. They were reorging. Heard that word? We're going to reorg. What do you do when you reorg? You get rid of all the women over 50. Not the men over 50, the women over 50. Why? Because we become a lot more expensive once we hit 50, insurance-wise. This was 15 years ago. So they were going through this. And how did they do it? They reorged them. So we're going to reorg is code for you're getting over the hill. Overexperienced. We'd really like to hire you, but you're a little overexperienced for us. Means you're too old. We don't think you will fit in with the culture. It's not a good culture fit. Means you're not 25. And the people getting those letters after they've applied for a job are not necessarily our age, older, 50-ish. Those people getting those could be 30. So over the hill starts at 30, remember. There's lots of ways that HR can work around the how to how to let go an older person. And it's all legal because they're staying within the guidelines. They can't say, we're letting go of you because you're over 50, but they can say, we're reorging the position. We really don't need your position anymore.
You're getting older, right? To use the restroom.
Well, and, and then there's lost time. That was awesome. Then there's all that lost time, that we have because after 50, our bladders don't work the same way. That's what I'm sure that's why this session is an hour and a half and not 3 hours. There's no way. So now we're going to share. And this is anything, nobody's looking. This is anything you guys need to talk about. If all you need to do is bitch and moan, that's okay. That's okay. If we've had an experience if we've experienced the ageism thing, that's okay too. If you've done something amazing to overcome the ageism deal, I want to hear that too. So this is your time to share your stuff now. I know you had something. Wait, we need our mic. Where's our mic? Okay. Oh, we'll go to David first.
It occurred to me about the mentoring issue and the mentoring question, how patronizing that can sound to the young'uns.
Yeah. Agreed.
As though we know we're bestowing wisdom on them, and their attitude since at least the baby boom generation is, you're old, get out of my way. But one of the things that I found has been enjoyable in a room of kids is to be able to somehow know, wisdom, experience, something, where their strengths are, and then facilitate. Give them opportunities, or if not give them as in direct, as in say there's the chance to say, you're really good at that. Maybe you should think about it over there. And when that is successful for them, they come back.
Mm-hmm. You're very successful at this. I know we were talking about it last night.
It's just one of those little things I've seen happen, and so if the value that you demonstrate to your employer or clientele or whoever is the value that you can show by facilitating how these newbies can actually make an impact and a positive impact in your environment. And you don't have to do that by looming over them or being, the old person in the room, telling them what to do. It's more like, hey, look at this. You're a member of the team. You're really good at that. Make that happen. That's just a thought as an approach.
There were a lot of examples in, this sounds not nice. Well, okay, I said it was going to be politically incorrect, but they used Google in the articles that I was reading. A lot of them used Google as the example, and they frankly said Google is such a young company, they're not going to hire people who are 40 and 50 years old. And why? Because they really don't want to work with their parents. I get it. He's been like chomping at the bit.
Well, I gotta pee. And one of the things, to add on, David, to your comment, is that I find myself, as I'm older, at 48, I can read people so much better than when I was 28. So when you talk about identifying those people and what they're good at, that's a skill that I have now that I didn't have 20 years ago.
Absolutely.
I guess the other comment I want to make, too, is that I've always felt a couple things. First of all, about staying relevant. If say you work in a Casper shop, learn Monkey. Put it on yourself to do this, whether it's quarterly or every half year. Find a technology out there that maybe applies to your job, maybe doesn't apply to your job, but learn that technology as a backup. You never know when you might find a better way of doing something. You never know when you might walk in one day and you're out of a job. And if you're more well-rounded ahead of the game rather than scrambling after you've been let go.
Absolutely.
You're
no longer have resources.
Exactly.
Right.
And some other things. I mean, I'm probably one of the few people here who is, living in the, as a MacAdmin in the time when Apple is doomed in the late 90s and early 2000s. And there's a few of us here, but not many. So, at that point in time, it's like, okay.
This whole room.
Yeah.
Everyone out there didn't see it.
But, at that point in time, it's like, well, what's my disaster recovery plan for my career?
That is a great way to phrase it.
So what am I going to do? So that's when I went out and got my CCNA certification, and became Cisco certified. So I figured if nothing else, if Apple stays a niche, completely goes out of business, gets bought by somebody, becomes a niche player or whatever, I at least have a foothold to do something else.
ITIL is the other thing. Right. It's really hot right now. Oh, somebody just shook his head back there going, oh God, please, not ITIL.
Yeah.
Anything but ITIL.
And if I think of the other thing I was going to mention.
Come in. Hi,
so, as someone who is a little bit on the younger side, I'm 35. I'll be 36 in October.
You're edging
I'm on the slope upward, and I can't say, I'm a consultant. I kind of feel like if I'm going to take a jump back out of consulting into in-house again, that now is the time to do it. And that at that point, what I should be considering is, if I jump in and now and end up with a director level position, does that give me a safer position 10 years from now? And the answer is I don't think so. But by the same token, the security that goes along with that, instead of being an hourly consultant, is certainly attractive. Yeah. There's no good answer.
So here's the scary thing when I was reading job reports. The common occurrence is to leave your job after 2 years. Anybody who stays at their job for more than 2 years anymore doesn't make money. You get your raises as you jump. It's exactly what you went through, right? So we've got some people back there. So 2 to 3 years tops at a job. Oh my God, that was.
Just to follow up on that, one of the things, I think it depends on your industry. And it depends on what your end goals are and what you consider your comfort level.
Right. I want a doctor who's mature. I don't want a doctor who's fresh out of school.
Right. No. But the other thing
I don't know about y'all.
The other thing is, so I've been at my job for 20 years. I'm in education. I'm in a school. My value proposition is much different. I have that security, in the school. I'm in an independent school. It's not like I'm in a public school and I'm under, a tenured contract. I'm in an independent school. I've been at my job for 20 years. I could be at my job for potentially another 15, 20 years. Unfortunately, I've got 3 of the people that report to me in this office, and they're probably listening to this and getting ideas, and I don't. But the point being though is that your level of comfort, 3 of the 4 of us have our children in the school. You know what I mean? We've got, the ability to come to these conferences. There is, because you keep coming back to, you're not going to make more money with a lot of this stuff. And not all of it is, we were talking about this last night. Are you comfortable? Are you comfortable where you are? You know what I mean? We service families that make 10, 20 times more than we do. Right. And we look at that and, if you're aspiring to that, you need to first get out of education because you're not going to do it there. But the point being is, again, we've got our kids in the school. They're getting a fabulous education. Mm-hmm. We've got jobs that we enjoy, people that we work with that we actually like and can function with. So people need to think about what's going to make them happy. Right. Yes. What's going to have them content? Security can be part of that, job that you like, but what are the other benefits, the people that you work with? I hire people around me that are smarter than I am. I mean, specifically because that's how I'm going to grow. Right. And I think so guys, don't go anywhere. No, but
please don't go anywhere.
Please.
You just hire people that are smarter.
Thank you.
You hired me, I'm really young.
The first part, I believe you said that, in some cases, the reason why we're having a hard time is that sometimes we're rigid. I'm actually about 12 years older than most of the people that work with me on my level and under me, and I find that they're more rigid. They've come to me and asked me to mentor them on different things. I always try to stay current with my certifications because in the IT field, being a woman and also being a minority is a subset of its own, and I don't try to let that hold me back. But when you come to me and ask me, well, what am I studying for? And I tell you, I'm studying project management, and I tell you, this is what you need to do. And then a week later, you're not only not interested in that, but you don't even want to troubleshoot the Mac ticket that I've showed you how to fix 2 years ago. So I think with some of these studies, they paint this picture, but I don't think it's really accurate unless you really are going into these environments and seeing what's going on. Right. And another thing with rigidity, especially in public sector higher education, when you do have that, well, I'm in a union and I'm tenured, and the only way I can lose my job is if I come and I punch you in the face, literally, or I steal. People get a comfort level like, I don't have to do this because the younger people are going to do it. But what's happening now in my school is that we're going through a reorganization. We're moving more from functional to project management. I've always felt the need to have some project management skills because we do some things and we go over time, we don't hit the mark, whatever else. And you have a lot of people across all ages who are just like, I'm not going to move.
Right. And understand, the articles are broad sweeping strokes, and there are always exceptions to any broad sweeping statement. It's going to happen. It sounds like you're in a place that is, sounds like you are in a place that's great, because you're growing and you have some security, and that's an amazing thing. And it's not common in the business sector. It's very not common in the business sector. I think we have somebody over here. Oh,
I stole it.
I didn't see it.
I work for a company that's more of a software development company. I'm just sort of here. And we've got maybe 18 employees, one of which is under 40.
Really? It's
so
remarkable.
Let me give you the other point of view. And it kind of addresses the mentoring aspect of it. I always feel like you've got to be able to get out of your comfort zone. And so if you get an opportunity and you are an aging company, get some young people in there, because when you've got a whole bunch of 40 and 60-year-olds running around, well, walking around, I mean, everybody gets kind of stuck in their ways. And so being able to mentoring gives you an opportunity, I think, to get yourself out of your comfort zone and be challenged by these people who come in, fresh out of school with these brilliant, great ideas that we all had once ourselves, right? And get you to reevaluate your own positions in everything, which I think is extremely important in staying relevant, is to being able to look back on what you're doing and going, let's do it all over again, completely different. There are new technologies, there are new ways to do it. Right. And I think we lose sight of that as we go along.
So
we're just
VCs
fixing stuff instead of creating.
Yeah, VCs have this down. The companies that are, the financial companies who are doing all this investing in the young startups, basically don't give money to firms that are 50 and older. They don't do it. Why? Because they're sure that the next great thing, the next Facebook, the next Google is going to come from some 20-year-old or some 18-year-old even, and it's never going to come from somebody our age. And so there are VC firms there are a couple of VC firms, not a lot, but a couple, who only invest in companies, startups who are mature. Pretty interesting. So there's money out there for us, but the general consensus is that a younger startup has more brain power. They're freer with their ideas. They don't have as much baggage with them. Maybe
32 is the cutoff date for most VCs.
32, right? Oh, I think I know.
Is that New Republic article on Ageism?
Right.
Yeah.
So 32. There you go. Hi.
Hey, speaking about mentoring, I'm 32 myself, and ever since I started in IT, I felt that everyone, regardless of their age, should have both someone to mentor them and someone to mentor, and numerous people. And I think that's something that's important for everyone, regardless of age. And that's actually something I'm trying to do. And I was hoping I might meet some people here this week. If there's anyone from Toronto, I'm trying to set up a MacAdmins group for Toronto. And if you speak to anyone else who's from Toronto, let me know, because it would be awesome if we actually have that. But one thing I'd like to do in my career is move into management more so. I'm already the IT manager, and I'm looking to become the IT director. But I'm wondering if you and anyone else might suggest good resources for personal development in that sense?
You know, business, I'm going to say time to get your MBA. Time to go back to school. Go back to school. You know, go back to school. Doesn't matter what you take. Don't take IT things. Yeah. Take humanities. Take business, history. Go back to school. Learn more stuff. The more we learn, you know, when you look at all the studies on aging, the more we learn, the more we exercise this muscle, the smarter we get. It fends off Alzheimer's. I forget where I read that, but. Thank you. I'm here all week, folks. But seriously, go back to school. Do something. I mean, go to law school. Go to law school, become an IP attorney. Become an IP attorney. You mix your IT with an amazing skill and all the experience of working with dirty people who want to steal our IP. It's a package. It's a whole package. It's a new life. Go back to school. Where's our mic?
I got it. Sorry.
Use the mic.
So you've presented some good tips and stuff for people that are in a potential ageism situation to present themselves. How about for some of us that are on the hiring side? Do you have any tips for us to see through some of maybe the common mistakes that they may not even realize they're making, or help us avoid bad habits from that angle?
That's excellent. Being on the employer side, it's very hard for me to teach it would be very hard for me to teach somebody how to not be an ist. An ageist, a racist, a genderist, an ist. You can't teach that. The person on our side is either an ister or not. I don't care who I hire. Okay, let's be a little more clear on that. There's a lot about the person that I hire that I don't care about. What I care about when I hire somebody is that they can talk to people. I can teach them, if they have a lick of sense, I can teach them the tech skills they need. They have to be able to talk to people. They have to have sense. They have to have common sense. Street smarts, not just book smarts. You can't teach that. You can't make HR people open their minds. Sort of speaking to your point about maybe the younger people don't have such open minds, when their heads are restricted to we're really not going to hire anybody over 30. That's pretty close-minded. So I don't know how you change this. Maybe we start a group. Maybe we start a networking group for IT people over 40. A LinkedIn group for IT people over 40. Some movement that becomes some nonprofit organization that becomes, IT over 40 people. Okay, so maybe we got an idea now.
Hey, Pam.
Hey, what?
Oh, I had to stretch my knees.
Hi, John.
I'm old. I come to this also from actually this being my third career, because.
Do you guys all know John DeTroy?
Yeah.
All right.
I started in the Army in 1970 and left as a captain in 1987. Went to Apple, and I was already, technically old. And worked at Apple for 25 years. Left there last year and went to work for FileWave. And I did it primarily because they let me travel around the world and talk about technology, and they were the first guys to offer up that opportunity. So what I've seen from my age group, other than the crickety knees, is the fact that one of the things that I see a lot of is we look at the younger guys who want to come up and they keep asking, how can I stay relevant? Couple things, and Pam started to mention that a couple times. One is learn to write.
Yep.
I have challenged. I've got people in the even in the company I work for right now. And when I was at Apple, I used to go sit with the documentation guys all the time, and they could not write. And learn to do public speaking. The whole generation we see right now is growing up without learning how to do public speaking, because the teachers don't want to embarrass Johnny up in front of the class by making him, look bad because he can't tie two sentences together. Well, you're screwed when you get out in the business world if you can't get up in front of a large group of people and talk. So if you don't know how, Toastmasters, some of the Dale Carnegie courses, stuff like that, go and learn to do that.
Dale Carnegie, old school, right?
Yeah, the old school stuff. Learn how to question people, learn how to be able to, get responses from it. Although I learned it differently than everybody else. I didn't take Dale Carnegie. I took the Special Forces Interrogation course. I can learn your life story in 3 minutes flat with a pair of pliers and a needle nose, well, never mind. Anyhow, the other thing that's interesting though, one of the things
You've all been warned.
You were talking about the narrow-mindedness thing, and the whole fixed. It's interesting for me because, for instance, when you reach this point where you've been in the technology industry so long, some of the things that keep coming around again that you see everybody gets all excited about, and then a year later they're looking at it going, why did we do this? I mean, how many people here are excited about Google Docs? Google Docs is the 7th iteration of the dumb terminal.
Yep.
Okay? We've seen it. And everybody goes, wow, this is really, really awesome. And then some guy says, well, what if I'm like in an airplane? How do I do my work? And they go, go.
Yeah. Go.
Competing with the guy next to you streaming
That's
Netflix.
yeah. So that kind of stuff. That's one of the things we bring to it. But really, the two things that I have found absolutely critical. It was critical when I was in the military. It was critical at Apple, and I see it right now especially for the younger crowd. That's anybody below 40, or 50. The ability to write and speak is key. And it doesn't cost much to go and learn how to do that well. People will respond to you much better if you can tell them that you can get up and articulate in front of a bunch of people what your technical concepts are. As a manager, it's handy. Yep. As a project manager, it's handy. As a salesperson, it's critical. As a sales engineer, it's life and death. So learn to do that.
We had somebody up here. Thanks, John.
Thank you for this opportunity to share my woes.
Oh, thank you.
I could talk about a lot of stuff that's been bothering me over the years. I'm 38, and I have kind of gone into that management position. So I am the IT director at my company, but it's a small company, and it's a creative agency with a lot of people who, design the end caps at your Target store, or, other signage, things like that. And it's been a great opportunity, and it's made me a good public speaker, I think. There he is. And I love to write. So all those things, I'm not really that scared of losing my job or anything like that, but I'm getting to a point where I'm kind of looking at my life, and I'm feeling like for the latter half of my working career, I want to make a difference. I want to do something that helps helps not just like with an individual, though I'm happy mentoring or something like that. I'm looking at, energy problems. I'm looking at pollution problems. I'm looking at just on a global scale, what could I do that makes more of an impact than end caps at Target? So,
making them out of paper.
Right. I'm just trying to think, like, how can I take all my skills and apply them to something more than just troubleshooting problems. That's the thing that I'm facing. I have so many passions. I love to do a lot of things, but I feel like I don't want to be on my deathbed and think I have, I've accumulated all these skills over my lifetime, and I've just been supporting other people with their goals.
Yeah, I get it. I get it. How to make a difference. I'm not sure what the answer is to that. It seems to me that that's an internal kind of need to take that. What do the Native Americans call it? When they go out in the desert and The Vision Quest, thank you. Sounds like a Vision Quest moment. Seriously, I mean, it sounds like something that needs to be meditated on the beach with the martini and figuring it out. I don't think anybody else can tell you how to do that. But this is a good group in that your idea might feed off of somebody else's idea, and now you've got a huge network here that you can work with and make something happen. I can see that. We had somebody in the back there. It's a good thing you're young and energetic and can run like that. Because I know I'd be tired. Getting that.
Hello. Hi. So I just wanted to speak from a younger perspective where my education was actually in criminal justice when I was in college.
Ooh.
And it wasn't until afterwards I decided I really wanted to get into IT, and specifically the MacAdmin side. And when it comes to mentorship, it's actually really difficult to find someone to mentor you from that perspective, because good MacAdmins are still such a small subset of the business culture that actually finding those people already embedded someplace is kind of difficult to shadow. So what I ended up doing personally is I ended up going online, following different blogs, Cryptid.com, Charles Edge, Rich Trouton, different people who I've kind of, they've become my surrogate mentors, if you will.
Sure.
And then I've started going to other groups and different meetups within New York. I'm very fortunate that there are great groups there.
Yeah.
But I started out in Phoenix, where that was very difficult to find.
Yes.
So.
Do you go to Ed Marzak's monthly?
I'm sorry?
Do you go to Ed Marzak's monthly MacAdmin?
Yes.
Okay.
Yep, sure do.
You're set then.
Yeah, exactly. But that took a number of years to actually find out about. So my point being is that if you're looking to mentor people, there are definitely people out there who would like to be mentored, and it may just not be within your direct business walls. So maybe it's starting a tech blog, maybe it's going to different meetups and just looking for people who are really interested, because we are out there, and it took a long time for me to find the right people.
Mm-hmm. And it also does not necessarily have to be a MacAdmin who mentors you.
Right.
A mentor is supposed to help you broaden yourself and grow yourself. And maybe somebody who's doing just the same thing as you are isn't the right kind of person to mentor you. Maybe the right kind of person to mentor you is somebody who's the purchasing agent for Bloomingdale's. I don't know. Because they have some odd skill that would make you more relevant. It's bigger than just somebody in my own industry doing the same kind of thing that I'm doing.
Absolutely.
Yeah. Others? Yays, nays, happy, sads?
Another thing that I've done over the years, and I just remember this to stay relevant to younger people, I always continue to make sure my resume is updated and out there, and that it doesn't look like I just graduated in 1993 from college. And another thing is I look at the skills of the jobs I'm not qualified for, and that kind of gives me a guidepost of, okay, this is what I need to work on to make sure that if I decide I want to leave my job and I want to take a chance and go on job interviews, I have the skills, and not just the IT skills, but also, like they said, the reading, the writing.
Right.
But the younger people that I work with, I've had to tell one of them, don't ever write an email again unless you let it come by me, because things like commas and run-on sentences he never heard of in school, and I'm like, you're writing a sentence to the dean of a department, and it's just one long sentence. It's not a paragraph. You haven't greeted yourself.
Exactly.
And he thought I was really being rude. I said, but remember, you're a professional like the dean is a professional.
That's right.
You're writing like you're a 12-year-old.
Exactly
I'm not trying to harm you. I'm just trying to help you so that when they see you, they know you're not only just an IT person, but you're articulate.
Right. So there's a book called Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. No, it's called Eats, Shoots, and Leaves. So I recommend, it's a grammar book. I read grammar books like I read books on DNS. It's really a sad thing. But this is actually a really good book, and it's relevant, and you really need to read it. We need to talk about resumes. I missed that part. That was in my notes my presenter notes that I couldn't find. But we need to talk about resumes. We have 4 minutes left. Everybody needs to have a resume.
Should be up
right?
to date.
And it needs to be updated. And the really critical thing is that resume needs to be maximum 2 pages long. We don't want your entire history. Don't put it on there. Don't put down what you were doing in 1986.
Yep.
It's not relevant. It makes you look old. You will never get past that first stage of submitting your resume with the 6,000 other people applying for that job. 1 to 2 pages tops, 10 years max.
Yep.
Nothing older than 10 years. I applied for a job out in Stanford, at Stanford, and I did it just for snicks and grins because I wanted to see if I was relevant. And I actually made it past the initial influx of resumes to the next stage, and I was one of the 6 people they were considering for the job. I was shocked. But I then got the letter that said, you have an impressive skill set, and we would love to have someone with your skills doing this job, but we found a better match. Which said to me, you're too old. Oh, look at that. I didn't do it, I just copied it. I didn't write this, I just copied it. Maybe I didn't copy it. Is it scud.com? Did I miss a letter?
Tom, what's
It'll show up at the end, right? It'll show up.
It should be j.mp/psu-mac27.
I just copied it, guys. You know.
It's on your passport.
I didn't have my passbook 3 weeks ago. So I didn't obviously, I didn't obviously get the job. But I knew why, and I thought, well, considering this is the first job I've applied for in 30 years, more than 30 years, I thought that was kind of impressive. But you need to make sure that your resumes are updated, that's your sell sheet. That resume is your sell sheet. That's your white paper. It needs to be current, it needs to be hot, and it needs to be not older than 10 years. They really don't care what you did in the 90s. Okay? We have the mic here. Hang on 1 second. I don't remember. I honestly don't remember. He asked if I had over 10 years on that resume. I probably didn't. You know what? They had a form that you had to fill out. You didn't have a choice of submitting your resume. You just click boxes. It's kind of an ugly process.
You stole my talk. I was going to say exactly the same things you said about resumes.
Yeah.
But the one other thing is LinkedIn. I mean, increasingly, more companies don't even care. They don't want a paper resume. They just want you to apply for the job on LinkedIn and show your profile. Yeah. So if you don't have a LinkedIn profile, get one.
Get a LinkedIn profile. Do all that stuff. All right. I know. We have 3 seconds. We did it. Thanks, guys.